Hello, everyone. My name is Sridhar Mahendale, and my co-authors and I are from the NYU Stern Center for Sustainable Business. And the paper we authored was The Efficacy of Large Language Models in Systematic Review. We'd like to give a special thanks to Ulrich Otz, who mentored us from the NYU Stern Center for Sustainable Business. So this research built on the previous study conducted by Ulrich Otz and others in 2022. So their main findings was they basically performed a systematic review of around 200 papers, all relating to the field of ESG investing, which stands for Environmental, Sustainable, and Governance. It's kind of like sustainable investing practices looking at corporate sustainability. So their main findings were that sustainability is positively associated with financial performance at the corporate level, meaning companies with better sustainability ratings have better financial performance. But for investor studies, it's unclear due to a difference in sentiment. And the three propositions they proposed was ESG integration as a strategy seems to perform better than screening and divesting, which are just investing strategies we won't get into in this paper. ESG investing provides asymmetric benefits during a social or economic crisis, and decarbonization strategies can potentially capture a risk premium, which was the most discussed finding in their papers. So this study, they performed in 2022, Ulrich Otz and others performed a systematic review of around 200 papers. This study looks at how effective AI tools, such as large language models, how good they are at replicating systematic reviews. So we tested large language models on using the corpus of previous papers from Ulrich Otz 2022, and we also compiled a new set of papers. We were trying to see if LLMs can extend the review to more recent studies, and if there was anything new. Over the last 4 years, it's entirely possible that new topics or new data arose, as the financial system is very dynamic, so past findings might change. The goal was to see if large language models can expedite the systematic review process without compromising accuracy, because our current systematic review methods are time intensive, so if they could, they'd be a very valuable tool for researchers. So we gathered 88 new papers from a similar search query from the original paper. We limited our results to more nuanced or specific topics and critically examined each paper to determine these ratings. So the researchers hand-coded, we performed a hand-coded systematic review, like a traditional one, to kind of label the data set. So from that, we can see that 50 papers were classified as positive, around 24 as mixed, and another 14 as negative. So a positive means that the paper found that the better the sustainability of a company, the more financially profitable it was. Mixed means there's no correlation, and negative means the inverse, the opposite. So just to see from what kinds of journals we pulled from mainly accounting, econ, finance, and business management, and SSRN. You can see here that the difference between like an accounting and a business management journal is significant for negative papers, meaning accounting journals are more likely to critically examine companies and they're not, they basically are more critical and harsh when determining the relationship between financial performance and ESG investing. So the goal was, how do we exactly test these LLMs? We took each paper and we inputted it into the LLM and gave it a prompt and asked it to return what it thought the paper was saying. We were trying to see how good it was at interpreting the paper's findings. So we created 3 levels of prompts. The basic one is kind of a zero shot. So we ask it to respond in one word, classifying the relationship as positive, mixed, or neutral. So basically interpreting what the paper concludes about the correlation between sustainability and financial performance. Context was kind of just providing some more description on this. Can be like a one-shot method. And then chain of thought was just asking it to think in a very specific manner. So there are really three questions that the previous study analyzed. It was, how does the study conclude there's a relationship between sustainability and financial performance? This is the main one we tested in this study. So the output of this could either be mixed, neutral, or mixed to neutral, positive, or negative. The other question was, this was tested in the 2022 study, but it was, how are financial returns or financial performance implemented? This could be something like just returns, ROE, ROA, stuff like that. And the third question was, how is sustainability implemented? This is looking at like differences between ratings, so using ESG or using CSR, and so on and so forth. So this was on the original data set compiled of around 200 papers, and we can see that the LLMs tend to be overly positive with little difference in prompting. Like it didn't really matter whether we used the basic context or chain of thought prompt. The accuracies were still relatively the same. For our new papers, we can see that GPT tends to be very much neutral on a lot of them, on the basic prompt, on the context prompts, whereas Llama 3 is relatively close, much closer to the human. Whereas on the chain of thought prompt, you can see GPT jumps down on the neutral and starts coding more papers as positive, which just comes to show that GPT-4 works better with that chain of thought kind of prompt style. Here we tested it on prompt 1, and we tested Llama and GPT-4. You can see that so 1A means like it's basic plus context, and then chain of thought. So you can see that Llama 3 is pretty much stable throughout all three of them, whereas GPT-4 has significantly less accuracy and then gets better with the chain of thought. This just tells us that the chain of thought prompt helps GPT, but Llama 3 overall is just better in terms of accuracy. We also asked the LLMs to return how confident they were in their predictions. This wasn't like a technical measure. It was just more of, we asked the LLM to output a number between 0 and 1 on how confident they were in their answer. You can see that they were roughly the same. They were basically very confident in all of their answers, and it didn't exactly mean anything. So where could we go more in depth? What did you find most interesting? And should we classify the other two sets of questions, as we only did the overall finding? Does ESG, ultimately the question we're tackling is, does ESG enhance financial returns? But there's a lot of data, and it's not really a well-defined question. So how do we communicate it best? And that's kind of why we tackled we analyzed a diverse set of papers that prompted very different things. ESG information is very differing. It's a pretty new field, so there's constantly changes, and it can even differ during times of horizon and crisis. So, for example, during a crisis, sustainability performance might significantly decrease because companies are having to invest heavily, or it might increase, vice versa. And there's not really a standard for measuring ESG. There's different performance measures like ESG, CSR, just environmental, carbon, stuff like that. So we're kind of tackling the question of which one seems to be the most accurate, testing it across various papers. So ESG Return Insights was one of the GPT agents we tested. The 4.0 we did test was run locally via API, but this is the one that's run on the interface and you can access. So if you just if you just upload a paper into this, it will try to interpret the paper and output a response for what it thinks for each of the 3 questions. So it'll give you a value for positive, negative, or mixed, what kind of financial metrics it's using, and what kind of sustainability metrics it's using. Sustainability Digest, on the other hand, is just kind of it's just kind of a assistant for those not really familiar with ESG investing. You can ask it kind of questions, and it has a general, but bit more general knowledge than just a regular GPT. Thank you for listening. The preprint for this paper is available on Archive, by the link on the screen. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or my co-author Aditya Shah, and we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you for listening.